Love that, Harry. We're just one big family here at BPM RIA. As you guys know, your only local chapter here in South Florida, Broward, Palm Beach, Miami Real Estate Investors Association. Thank you guys for being here. Welcome. My name is Alexa, Operations Manager here at the BPM RIA office. We have an amazing webinar for you guys today. We're going to get you in the mindset of a champion today, guys. What a blessing. We have Bradley Montoya here, and here's just some quick announcements before he introduces himself, because I am so excited for today. So next week, Valentine's Day, we have Jose Ramirez coming in. We're going to be talking about tax planning strategies. You can go right to our website, bpmreia.com, and register for these events here on the screen. I'm excited to be your Valentine next week for our free webinar. So we will see you guys then. We have another incredible webinar with one of our members. We'll be doing a member spotlight with Dr. Michelle Verdi-Knapp. She's going to come in here and talk about everything she's been working on behind the scenes besides her real estate investing. She's going to be talking about transforming school culture through mindfulness. So we are very, very excited to present you guys that webinar next week as well. We will be doing an in-person workshop in February. So I know a lot of you have been calling me and asking when the next in-person opportunity is to learn. So this will be more of a learning workshop. Of course, you'll be able to network with those in that workshop. But yes, I will get you guys location and topic very, very soon. We're locking it all in right now. So excited to see you guys on Saturday, February 18th from 10 to 12. It will be in Broward County, closer to the Fort Lauderdale area. So keep your eyes open for that. These are limited seating, so as soon as this drops, I will be sure to send out an email blast to all of you so that you can go ahead and lock in your seat. Of course, please lock in your seat if you're going to be there. That is super important. So again, another hot topic. You guys have been asking for a probate webinar. We have Fred Hodgson coming in, the probate attorney. Funny enough, Harry's been working with him consistently throughout the month of January. I know he is going to have a lot of things to talk about with you guys in that webinar. So excited for you guys to all learn from Fred the following week. And then here it comes, guys. It's coming up fast. March, our monthly meeting. That means just one more month until we have our big quarterly meeting in April. At the Signature Grand. So excited to bring Scott in here. You guys have to go to the website after the webinar and read what our next monthly meeting will be about. Of course, I'll be sure to send an email out to you guys, but really excited to meet Scott and learn from him on his slow flips strategy. So yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I luckily just saw Scott about 2 weeks ago on one of my mastermind groups. It is something totally different than anyone else is doing, and he's a pretty cool guy too. So you're gonna love that. Dr. Michelle Verdi-Knapp is a personal friend of mine, but we've been friends for 30 plus years. I know it's hard to believe I'm that old, but yes, 30 plus years we've been friends. And actually, I flipped my first house with her too. And besides her being a PhD, licensed real estate for 30 plus years, flipping houses, what she's really been up to has been out of control. And as you notice, even today and the event with Michelle, we're kind of starting some new series of workshops that are a little bit different. I've been listening to you guys over Christmas break when I asked for suggestions. So we're doing some things outside of real estate a little bit that's within real estate. And we're pretty excited. And especially now, we're going to start a member spotlight, every quarter too. So that's going to be pretty cool also.
Yes, guys, it's all connected. So excited to see you guys there. And as you all know, my favorite way to keep up with events is via text. It's so easy. If you would like the registration link, and a quick update sent to your phone the day of our event, go ahead and text the word BPM REIA, one word, no spaces. Leave out these little quotation guys. Send it to our event line 954-800-6961 if you would like text updates for our events. Super easy and convenient. Quick Start Boot Camp, one of my favorite topics. Our next dates are April 15th and April 16th, 2 full days, live Zoom training, completely led by Anish. We are getting into all these topics that you see on the screen. We're touching on wholesaling, flipping, rehabbing. We have member and non-member pricing. We have 4 incredible guest speakers on this training. Go ahead and check out the link in the chat to see who those awesome speakers are, who you will be getting close with over those 2 days. It is a money back guarantee. So this is like once in a lifetime opportunity. I highly recommend you attend if you haven't already, because I hear nothing but incredible things, and I've attended as well. I absolutely love it. It's a really, really good place to get to know us and what we're doing and what strategies we're doing that are different and that are working. So go ahead and click that link in the chat if you'd like more information about the Quick Start Bootcamp training. Memberships, as you all know, the memberships get all the goodies. They get the discounts, special member pricing. They get in free for our in-person quarterly networking meetings. They get the National REIA benefit package, all the good stuff, all the good pricing. They get discounts to our Quick Start training. So many great things. If you guys have questions about it, I will put my email in the chat. I also linked the memberships in the chat box. So take a look at the chat box. I'll be throwing some helpful links in there throughout the webinar. And if you guys have any questions, you can put those in the Q&A section in the Zoom menu. So we have pretty much everyone in our meetings are members already, but if you guys have questions, I am here for you. So excited for that one. Mentoring and coaching. As many of you know, but some of you do not, we do offer one-on-one coaching and mentoring here at BPM REIA. It is truly one-on-one. You are matched with a mentor that you work with directly. We put 100% of the money up for the deals, split profit 50-50. We set our students up with everything they need to do deals. So if you have questions about what's included in our mentoring program, go ahead to our website, bpmreia.com, and schedule a discovery call with me. I'll be more than happy to provide the brochure for the mentoring coaching program, as well as help with scheduling a free consultation with a mentor so you can get into all of the questions and be clear on if this program is a good fit for you or not. So we are more than happy to help with that clarification. This is my direct line down here. I did put my email in the chat box for you guys, so you can send me an email, because as you all know, I can't answer the phone when I'm in these webinars. So go ahead and book that discovery call with me right now so that we can get your questions answered and get you that clarity. And I'll be more than happy to help with that. So without further ado, I want to thank everyone for being in this webinar today. Thank you guys. I know when you saw that this was not as real estate related, you were like, intrigued. So same with me. I'm super intrigued. I'm super excited for our webinar today. Always want to take a moment to thank National REIA, thank all of our corporate vendors on our website, all of our vendor partners. Thank you, Anish, for doing everything you do to meet these cool people like Bradley. Thank you, Bradley, for taking the time with us today. I'm really excited. I hope everyone is just as excited as I am, because I want to make the most of this time with you. So just one more quick thing, housekeeping rules, as you guys know, put those questions in the Q&A box. We will be getting into it in the chat with links and things like that. If you want to respond, you can put it in the chat. But if you do have questions for Bradley or Nish, go ahead and put those in the Q&A box, and let's do this thing.
Yep. So thank you, Alexa. And I do see some new names on here, so I'll just give you a quick introduction about me, just in case you don't know. for you longtime followers, it's been a few years, so you already know my story. So my name's Anish Dave, the president of BPM RIA. We were formerly called BRIA, the Broward Real Estate Investors Association. We changed our name last year because I was getting tired of people thinking I only buy in Broward County. We buy in all 3 counties. That's Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, hence the BPM. And I screwed up again because now we're buying all throughout the state. So good job, Anish. Way to screw that up. So we'll probably have to change our name in a couple of years, but not yet. We're good so far. So the other thing, I'm a licensed real estate agent since 2002. I'm a licensed mortgage guy. We are a chapter of National RIA. National RIA is the organization that endorses real estate clubs, and we're the only approved chapter here in South Florida. So that's a quick snapshot about me. And so what I'm really excited, right? So I said this year, I'm going to do some pretty different things. Some of you guys were on our monthly meeting with Marshall. Go ahead and put in the chat if you were on that meeting. So just so I know if you were actually checking it out with us, because as I mentioned, I spent a bunch of money, right? So I'm constantly educating myself. As I told you guys, I spent well over 80. It's funny, I forgot. I must have a mental number that I kind of forgot. I spent well over 90,000 last year on personal development. And one of the things that I spent money on was Marshall Silver's Inner Circle. So it was awesome to have him speak last month. And when I went out to Carlsbad, California, we're working on training and development at the beginning of the year. And I ran into Bradley and his beautiful wife and 20 other entrepreneurs or serial entrepreneurs like myself, and not all of us are real estate oriented, and we just kind of hit it off. And so as you go to these events and you say, oh, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, my name's Anish, I do real estate investing. And I'll let Bradley talk about himself and give a little quick bio about him. But what I was really amazed was, Bradley is a 5-time champion ballroom dancer. I was like, what? Champion ballroom dancer. All the things, if some of you guys do know me personally, Anish has no rhythm. So I'm even talking to myself about the third person. I don't even hum right, don't know how to whistle, and I don't even snap on cue, right? So clueless is probably the easiest end of it. So today, right, what we're going to do, again, this is outside of real estate, even though Bradley's in the real estate field, Q&As, and what I found, when I was chatting with him, how interesting Bradley has, and we were kind of talking about certain things. So Bradley, if you want to introduce yourself to our group, I love it. He's actually out on the West Coast too. So go ahead, Bradley.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you guys so much, Anish, for having me on the show today. And I'm super excited. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but I started in 1995. I was a professional ballroom dancer for about 28 years. And when I say ballroom dancing, it's not just the classic, waltzes and cha-chas and things like that, but I was a champion in the ballroom genre, country western genre, salsa, Argentine tango, all those different types of genres. So I've touched many different fields in the professional dance world. I was an owner of 2 different dance studios, one in Washington, a large one in California for many years. Like I said, I'm also part of the real estate world. I'm an investor myself, and my wife and I, we own a brokerage. We are insurance brokers, so we work in all 50 states. So I'm super excited to be here on the RIA because I understand the home buying process. And when you said someone's closing on their house, I got super excited. That's an amazing time in your life when your home is closing and you're getting that property. So I'm super excited about that for you guys as well. But not only that, I am part of 2 different mastermind groups. And obviously the one that we work with together when we were in Carlsbad together. Again, my wife, Lauren, and we just hit it off. Was speaking to you. You're an amazing gentleman. And I remember we were at the Millionaire Speaker Conference, and immediately you said something that just perked my ears up, which was, hey, we'll put all the money down for an investment for a property, and who's interested in that? And I'm like, who wouldn't raise your hand for that? Who wouldn't raise your hand when someone's going to front the money and put up for the home? So you got an amazing program going. So anybody that would like to jump on being a mentor with Anish and his team, I mean, jump on it now. They're fantastic. So
All
thanks
right,
for having
Bradley.
me.
So how much do I sell the money to you, right? Thanks. I'm just messing with you. So again, I like Bradley because he's also, pretty much bald. Marshall's bald, so everyone's going to start thinking I'm very biased with people with limited amount of hair in general. So I'm kind of cracking up about that. But so the cool thing is, you mentioned that you've been in the dance world for 28 years. Was that always? I mean, when you were growing up, right? Do you want to say where you actually live and where you grew up first also?
Sure.
To kind of give us a quick background of how you got into dancing or,
Absolutely. I actually grew up in Chino, California, which is in Southern California. And my family and I, we didn't grow up wealthy. We grew up extremely poor. We grew up in what we call the projects, or a rough neighborhood. And when I was around 13 years old, my parents had some wisdom to take us out of there, move us into another place where we had a better life, moved us up to a place called Hawkinson or Brush Prairie, Washington, which most people don't know where that's at. It was teeny tiny back then, still is, but that's outside of Vancouver, Washington, Portland, Oregon. So lived there, high school, college, then became a professional dancer at 18 years old. I knew that in order to make it in this business, you have to go to the big cities. So I left immediately. I wanted to go, saw the world, travel the world, taught all over the place, really settled in the Bay Area where I had my second school. And then about 4 years ago, my wife and I, we got to a point where we didn't have to be there anymore. So we came on a visit here to Washington State. She fell in love with the state. She fell in love with the place I grew up in. And we moved back, and it's every single day is a blessing. I couldn't have a better life. I have an amazing, blessed life, and living here we live in Camas, Washington now.
Yeah. And so like when you got into dancing, right, you're talking about 18, did you always, were you like, okay, so when I'm gonna tell something to our group that you're gonna laugh, and my mom was a little disturbed, as a little kid, like, what do you want to be, right? And being from an Indian family, what she was hoping for, right? She's like, I hope you're gonna be a doctor.
Yes.
Then she realized at 12, I passed out when they were taking blood, and screamed when they, put injections, or I'm getting shots. I don't scream anymore. I just bite my lip, but she knew that wasn't going to happen. Right. So then she's like, trying all these other things. And we grew up in the, I don't know, it's kind of rough area in Jersey, Irvington, which is outside of Newark. And before Newark was pretty now, I guess, it was pretty hoodish. And my dad worked 2 jobs, and we're in a little 1-bedroom, and we took a bus everywhere. And so buses were pretty fun to go out. So guess what I wanted to be when I was growing up? A bus driver. You want to see an Indian mom cringe? I was like, man, I really love the smell of diesel too. So in case you guys are wondering what's wrong with me, that's probably too much diesel, and I wanted to be a bus driver. But the irony was, part of the reason I always wanted to be it sounds funny, was because it got me out of the house. We were going to different spots. Then, obviously at the airport, I wanted to become a pilot, right? Because, we get to go travel, and that was always a passion. So for you, you said at 13, being like, how did you even fall into that? Or, as a person being in the top of your industry?
Great question. And I could spend about 10 hours on this one topic, and I won't. I'll give you the quick version of it.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I wanted to be you guys are going to laugh at this if you think about it, bus driver. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I'm the stuff that you see on TV, that's what I wanted to be. So I was a scrawny little runt of a kid, and I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And if you look at me, even as a full-grown man, I stand no chance.
Yeah.
So, and not only that, but after I got out of that phase, I wanted to follow in my father's footstep of being a United States Marine. One thing after another doors just shut. And what happened is I got into boxing and martial arts. I was doing that for quite some time. And then one day, 2 gentlemen approached me, and I got an offer to go do a tryout for this this dance place, and one thing led to the next. And before you know it, pow, I was in a training session at 17 years old to be an instructor. The day after my 18th birthday, I was offered a contract, and I never looked back. It was not easy. It's not something I really wanted to do. It's not even something I enjoyed doing until I got good at it, because people love to do things that you're good at. I mean, I was an athlete, but I was not a dancer. I did not like being the worst at anything. And I had to work hard to become, decent, and then even harder to become great at what I did.
Okay, so guys, so Bradley and I are being very transparent. What did you want to be? You heard how silly, maybe wanted to be a bus driver. Bradley wanted to be a wrestler, which I used to love, WWF or WWE. I forgot whatever the right one was back then, because I think we're around I'm a little bit older than you. But guys, put in the chat. I'm just curious, what did you want to be? And if you guys say you wanted to be a real estate investor when you were a kid, I'm gonna remove you from this call because I'm gonna call you a liar. So I'm just kind of curious, what Alexa wanted to be a professional soccer player. Oh, Nicole, look at a magician. Okay, a farmer. Wait, your wife saying being a waitress.
She did.
Okay, cool. Real estate. Oh, Liad, I don't know. Okay. President. Okay, cool. All right. So that's the funny part, right? So from what I'm looking at, what people put in there, none of us became what we thought were, right? And now the world moves you in different ways. And I would have never thought I would have been an entrepreneur. I thought, where I grew up, after, not realizing I wasn't going to be a doctor, I wanted to work on Wall Street, work for a job and get my 401k and get an education and work for a company for 20 or 30 years. And then I'll be all set. And obviously it didn't work out that way. Right. So it all changes as you're working. So now, right now you're 18 and you got this contract. And you mentioned that you like being, the best at what you do.
Correct.
Even at 18, what was the shift? What is that? Okay, meaning I'm going to tell you, I want to be the best at everything, but not really. I'm going to say it. I'm not going to follow through it, because there's a lot of things that I have a private yoga teacher. I did yoga today. I'm the most uncoordinated person ever. All the way through, right? But do I need to be a yogi? I don't. I'm not passionate enough for that. So what changed, for you on the dance side that said,
that's a really good question as well. I mean, as a professional instructor, as a professional dancer, it wasn't just you train and go compete. I started as an instructor. So the process of teaching people how to dance taught me, and it brought something out inside of me that I didn't really realize about myself. One is I love teaching. I love teaching more than I do performing or competing, because that's what I really got into. Is I like to compete. As an 18-year-old, I knew as 100 pounds, I was not going to go to college to play football. I was not tall enough to play basketball. I was not skilled enough. I wasn't fast enough or strong enough or talented enough to do those things. I just wasn't. And professional dancing got me to continually compete as an adult. But as we're doing that, you have to pay the bills, and paying the bills was, you have to learn your craft very well. And then you're teaching students along the way. And in fact, that's the gross majority of your time is you're learning your craft, you're educating, you're getting better every single day, working on what you're doing. And then you're teaching your students who are coming in to pay to have, a great time, whether it's, getting exercise, connecting with their partner, just having a fun time, date night out, whatever it may be is their thing. You're there to facilitate that and help them along their journey. And I didn't realize that teaching was really, really a passion of mine. And it's just something that just came inside of me and just came out. And I love doing that. The other thing was I love speaking. I love public speaking. And so when you're teaching groups of people and you're teaching groups of 25 to 100 people or 200 people, public speaking is another passion that I have. And it was really generated from the professional instruction side of things. So now, as 28 years later, when I do public speaking events, or I'm teaching things like first-time home buyers courses, or I'm teaching courses for realtors on how to do what they do, it's something I wake up in the morning going, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to not hear myself speak, but hear myself educate those who are interested in what we're talking about. So that's really what drove me down the road. And then the competition side of it, to be able to channel that, that physical ability, or that desire to still want to get out there and push yourself to a limit. That world just gave me every single thing that I needed to be passionate and keep driving.
Absolutely. And so the funny part is I'm the exact opposite as you, meaning uncoordinated. I did play some high school sports, and so I do like some of the physical stuff, but I'm the guy that works out because he has to. He bitches it on the way there. He bitches about it afterwards. Everything hurts, right? But I know the mental end of it and why I do it. The public speaking, I do like teaching and to make an impact on people. So that's one of the reasons why the coaching program is really important for me, is to really make a difference into so many people. And luckily what we do and what you're doing is we're transforming generations, literally.
Correct.
So it's not one at a time. And I think that's always important. The funny part is, I know you love public speaking, so I am the exact opposite. I am terrified of public speaking and people. So go ahead and put in the chat if you are actually comfortable speaking publicly, or if you're shy, right? So most of my group or my friends are like, you're shy. My wife even makes a comment. She goes, those poor people, do they even get a word in edgewise? I'm married to you, so I do have to listen to you on that end of it. So were you always, I'm going to say you're fearless. It seems like in everything that you do, obviously you're talking about from the armed forces to really, is that always been your personality on everything, just out of curiosity? Because you're obviously very confident, fearless, and ready to go out there and
you're asking really, really good questions. And I mean, these weren't things that I thought we were going to talk about, but I'm glad you are. This is one thing I talk to my wife about sometimes. And my story began when I was a young kid. When I was a young kid, I was very sickly. I was a very sickly kid, in and out of hospitals for about 8 years, the first 8 years of my life. And when I'm talking about sickly, I'm talking needles, tubes, breathing apparatus, medications. I remember being in part of the hospital where children would roll in next to you and they would pass away, and then they would roll them out. So for me as a youngster, hope is usually for the hopeless. And I had a lot of hope back then as a kid, and I was confined to this bed. I saw pictures of myself as a child walking with tubes, almost like you're post-surgery, but you're not. You're just so sick that you can barely get out of bed and move. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so I remember sitting there as a youngster, talking to what I understand as, the universe or God directly, and saying, if you can just help me, if you can just give me a chance and get me out of this, if you can just get me out of this hellhole, this cell where I'm at, which was my hospital bed, my confinement, I will do something with my life. I will do something for you. I will be somebody. And I think it was that moment where I made a covenant with myself. If you get a chance to do something, you better darn well do it, because you're in a place that no hope is waiting for you. And so I remember it took quite some time, but when I was able-bodied as a early teenager, athletics was my way of showing that I needed to, and I could do something more than be that sick kid. And then when it came time to get in an education, I knew I could do more than what that sick kid can do. So everything in my mind is about, if you don't go forward, and if you don't excel, and if you don't inspire, and if you don't better yourself, and if you don't push yourself, and if you don't become the best version of yourself, then you just lied to yourself your entire life. So I think for me, that sick child that was begging to get out of there, when we talk about things like, what's your mindset? How do you become better? How do you overcome these obstacles? I look at that young child and say, I'm doing this for you.
Wow.
And so it's kind of a different way, is I motivate myself because I made a promise to myself.
Wow. And you know what's funny? Like, that's usually the hardest promises. You got me thinking. The way I feel, it's funny. If I made a promise to my wife or my family, I'm more likely to commit to it.
Mhm.
I don't give, the same kind of love or commitment to myself, or it
Sure.
comes and goes. It depends. If I feel good, I feel good. Right.
Well,
And if I don't feel good, I
I
don't feel
agree
good.
with that. I totally understand that. I totally understand it. But it's, and when I tell my healthy self, my successful self, my knowledgeable self, one thing, it's easier to, I can slough off on that. But when I look in the eyes and I look in the soul of that sick kid, and I remember that feeling, and I can picture him, or I'll pull up an old photo of myself. It's not the same person. It's not like I'm talking to me. I'm talking to that youngster, and or even my own son. I have three children, right? I have two sons. And if I look at my sons and say, hey, this is what dad's going to do, then dad better darn well do that. So I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, you live like, and that's one of the things, you live in the world of certainty,
Mhm.
right? And one of the things we're even talking about, I know Marshall, at the mastermind, one of the things I liked was the word hope. Every time he said, you said the word hope, to change it to I know.
Mhm.
So I it's not that I hope I do some real estate deals. I hope to become a real estate investor. I hope to become a better husband, wife, whatever that is, or father, all the above. I know I will be. And that
Yes.
language of being certain changes everything, right? So on real estate, whatever you're dealing with, right? So on the real estate, I know that seller is going to sell me the house. I know I'm going to be successful on that portion, and whatever success looks like, right? So it doesn't have to be monetary, it could be relationships, it could be anything that you're picking, and it's to be able to pivot that. What would you tell people, like, if obviously your story is insane, obviously being that little kid, like what comes up for you because we're human, right? So when the doubt factor happens, like how do you deal with that, right? So, and you could do it you could like in your business now, or on your way to become, a champion ballroom dancer, whatever way, because I know doubt's on the way, right? I know you weren't just training and, hey, I'm a teacher and tomorrow I'm going to become champion.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that on even almost a day-to-day, I don't want to say day-to-day, or as it comes up, or long-term, you break it down whatever way.
Well, a few different things in my profession. The reason I started competing was not just because I enjoyed competition, but it's because I wanted to increase my skill set. I wanted to become the best version, the best teacher I could be. And in order to do that is I needed to prove to myself, I needed to prove to my colleagues, I needed to prove to my industry that I'm worthy of that. I'm worthy of your hard-earned money, your dollar that you're going to spend with me, your time that you're going to spend with me. These husbands and wives, they go out for date night. They can go anywhere. They can go anywhere to do anything, but they choose to spend time with me. So when I'm spending my money for my coaches, I want my coaches to be the best in the world. My coaches were world champions. If they were not, I didn't work with them, because I knew that the best in the world could train me to be the best in the world. So I wanted to make sure that the money that I spent and the time that I spent was worthy of my client's money, was worthy of my client's time. And so the first thing I did is I sought out mentors. I sought out mentors. It's the same thing I'm doing now. I have two mentors, one in the real estate business, one as Marshall's one of my mentors as well. I have always sought out the best people that could help me with what I was doing. And that doesn't mean, people that'll give you the thumbs up, the attaboy, give you the answers you want to hear. No, I'm looking for the hardcore, this is not working for you. This is not good for you, or this is the path you need to be on, or someone that's going to hold you accountable. Those people that will do exactly what you would do back for them. That's what I'm looking for. And so for me in the dance business, I look for champions that had a struggle, that overcame that struggle, knew what it was like to spend money. Here's another thing. People don't realize you need to spend money on education, self-education. Just like you and I have done the same thing this last year. I have a number in my head as well. And that's a given. That's something that you need to do. You need to spend on that education.
Can I ask you just
those
on a
coaches
side
do the
note,
same
like
thing.
the dance world is obviously very new to me. If again,
Yes.
if some of you guys, some of my friends are on this call, you've seen me dance, terrible. It's disturbing. It can be definitely a TikTok nightmare on that end of it. Like, what did you spend? Do you have a number of what you spent on dancing or education that roughly in
I
your
can
world?
say like
I'm
this.
just curious, actually.
One of my coaches spent years and years and years. And by the way, I'm not going to say a name, but she is one of the greatest smooth dancers that the world's ever known. She's breathtaking, amazing technician, an amazing performer. In 1 year, the year that she became world champion, she spent over $100,000 on coaching. And it's not just coaching because I need to get my skills better. We call them legacy coaching. You coach with judges who will be seeing you when it's time for you to compete for that championship. They need to see you. They need to see you in motion. They need to fix this, that, or the other thing, because the difference, and before this webinar started, you and I talked about a lot of things that successful people do, that 95%, we all do those things. We all do those 95% things. We all do that. But it's that 5% or that 2%. What's the difference between 5%, 95 to 100%? It's that little tiny 5% that makes a real champion, or that 1% that makes a legend. There's a difference because everybody on that floor is good. Everybody in the NBA is great. Everybody in the NFL is great. Every professional person is really, really good at what they do. But it's that 5% and then that 1% that makes the world a difference. And so finding the coaches that can give you that extra 5%, finding those coaches that can get you that extra 1% when there's that little bit left to squeeze out of you, that's what's going to make a champion. That's what's going to make you successful in life. And it all starts right here in the head, in your soul, and then you got to put that effort out there.
Yeah, and when you're finding these mentors, obviously you've been doing this for a while, so that was I don't want to say it's pre-internet. It's a little bit different than it is now. Were you like on the mentoring end of it? Did you have certain questions besides their pedigree of them as a champion to work with them, and did they have questions for you too? Like I'm just kind of curious because like on our coaching program, we don't take everyone in. I want to make sure they meet us, and they might say, "Hey, Anish, your program sounds good, but Anish, you're a chump. I don't even like you." Meaning, like you want to have that open relationship to ask those questions and be honest without the easiest way is without getting your feelings hurt. I don't know how else to say it.
Absolutely. Well, here, I'll tell you what, again, this is another, I'm gonna give you a quick anecdote. I was already a professional dancer, and I was already competing professionally at one point. And I had not yet even scratched the surface of my potential, but we went to an event. It was in San Francisco Bay Area. And I had a bunch of students, and my students were just winning they were just boom, comp after comp, and they were just winning. Our studio took home, top studio. My partner and I at the time, we competed for the professional competition. We had won. So I was on top of the moon. I thought I was great. I was strutting around like, hey, I'm hot stuff. And there was this judge there that I'd never seen before. And this was pre-internet. Yeah. So I'd never seen this person. She was a striking woman, but just stood with such beautiful posture and poise the entire day, never broke posture. at the end, I went up, shook her hand, and she denies this to this day, but this is my story and I'm sticking to it. And we were talking, and I'll get to cut to the chase. She said, I said, so what did you think of my dancing? You're a judge. And she said, watching you on the dance floor makes me want to throw up. That's what she told me. And it burst my bubble. First of all, this beautiful woman burst my bubble. and usually I don't have that happen. And then the second thing was, I thought it was awesome. I thought I was just really amazing. And it just burst my bubble knowing this is a judge. And then I told her, I said, then you need to be my coach. You need to be my coach. And the reason that I said that is because I knew a little bit about her pedigree. I've never seen her, but I heard of her. And she was originally from the Ukraine. And so, Ukraine, the Russian bloc, they trained back then very different. There was a difference between American dancers and European dancers. It's just a night and day. Let's just not even play around. So she was from the old school and she was from the hardcore school. You do it this way, that's it. And that was the coach for me, because I realized she wasn't going to pat me on the rear end. She wasn't going to take my money and just say thank you. She was going to make me the best version of myself. And if you cannot take criticism, that is the wrong business for you. You need to be able to take constructive criticism. You need to be able to take it hardcore, because they're doing it because they love you, and they're doing it because they see potential in you, not because they're trying to hurt you. And so you have to sometimes take your pride, your ego, be humble, and just listen.
Yeah, I mean, my mentor is the same thing. I have a few mentors. They have no problem dishing it out, and in the beginning, like luckily, with our RIA or some of the people like, hey, Anish, you're doing pretty good, and I'm nowhere where I want to be on my journey. So it's kind of funny. I was actually literally talking to Lisa this morning, and that's what I said. I was like, yeah, I could probably get by and not have to work anymore and on that stuff. But I have, I was telling her today, I have unfinished business in my world, right? Meaning there's a lot of things that I really want to do personally with my wife and our family is a couple of things, but I really I want to get to this next part of the journey with a lot of other people doing some fun things. And one of the cool things that I finally got there is where now I could actually work with people I like versus before, being in real estate or, as when I was an agent or any of that stuff, you got to take a client and it ruins your day and your mental aspect of it. And right now my mental health is as important as the financials and also your physical health.
Absolutely.
So as you're going, right? So you're 18, you're teaching professionally, right? Now you want to get into competition. So from obviously, the first competition you entered, you obviously didn't become a champion. How much time, right? When you decide I wanted to compete, what would your day look like? Meaning you're probably doing other stuff. You said, obviously you got to pay some bills. So obviously you're still teaching. So how many hours were you teaching versus working on your skill set? Can you kind of walk me through what that would look like? Like a day?
Absolutely. Well, they call it starving artist for a reason. as a dancer,
that's why you're 100 pounds. You're 100 pounds.
Yeah. Exactly. So what it would be is I was very successful in teaching because I knew how to fill up my schedule. A big part of it was you have to fill up your schedule from the beginning of your day to the end of your day for teaching time. That's the way you make money in the professional world. However, how do you become better? So what I would do is my partner and I, we would have 2 hours before the time that we're supposed to be on for meetings and work. 2 hours before, you're working on your craft. That means you're in there, you're stretched, if you want your coffee, you don't get in there and play around. You're on the floor 2 hours, ready to roll, music's going, you're already working up a sweat, you're in the gym, go for it. So 2 hours before, and then after you teach a 10-hour day, so 10 hours of dancing, after 2 hours of practicing, you put in another 2 hours. So you're doing 14 hours of physical movement. And so obviously, you know, that there's a lot of calories you have to eat to maintain that. And it's physically can be taxing on your body. So you have to watch your intake. You have to watch your alcohol consumption. Are you smoking? Are you doing recreational drugs? Do you have other activities that will prohibit you to be successful? Do you have buddies that you're going to go pal around with, hang around with? Are you going to go to the clubs at night? Are you going to go hang out with people that are doing wrong things? If the answer is yes to any of those things, you will not be successful.
Wow.
You have to make sure you make a full commitment to what you're doing. And that commitment also means you're staring at yourself in a box with mirrors for hours on end, doing repetition after repetition after repetition. So what we see is, let's say you're at an event and you see these professionals with all these $5,000 gowns on and these tuxedos on, and their hair slicked back. When I had hair, the hairs were slicked back, and you look immaculate. I mean, you are the embodiment of perfection when you're walking out. Your shoes are shiny. Everything is perfection when you get on that floor. But they don't see the countless hours and hours and hours and physical toll that's on your body. Your body aches, your body hurts, broken, tendon snap. I mean, you see these things that happen, but what you see is the big smile. You see the posture, you see the fluidity to it, and you see that for an X amount of time, and then they're gone. And so as a professional, you have to understand, if that's what you want, and if that's the success that you want, what are you willing to give up for that? One of my old football coaches told me this a long time ago. He says, Bradley, you can have or be anything in the world that you want. If you want to attain something, you can have it. If you want to be something, you can be that. But the question is, what are you willing to do to attain it? What are you willing to sacrifice? And so that's something that everybody has to think about. Even in the real estate business, what are you willing to sacrifice for that property? Is this a good deal? Have you done your numbers? Have you ran everything? Are you with the right group? You need to understand, doing the work prior is going to set you up for success.
Yeah. And so you're talking 14-hour days. Was that 5 days a week? I mean, I imagine you needed some rest in between. Like
we would do 5 days a week, and then half a day on Saturday, and Sunday would be a complete day of rest.
Wow.
Because your body's going to break down. You have to get your ample rest. You have to eat well. Limit your tube time. And in fact, my wife and I, we do not own a television. We haven't had a television 20 years.
Wow.
I don't watch news. We don't watch television. I mean, I know what's happening in the world because we have computers, but we do not sit and watch television. We have too many other things to do when you're running. My wife owns a restaurant. We are entrepreneurs. We have a brokerage. We still teach. I still judge. I still travel. We do teaching engagements. No time in there is to watch Friends. And that's how long it's been since I watched TV, as Friends were on. So, I mean, you just have to know that you have to sacrifice something, and that's couch and tube time.
That's funny. So when you're talking about, the 14, let's talk about the breakdowns, right? It's always like, I like that you talked about, everyone sees the finished product, right? You're on stage, you win, all that other good stuff. What do you do during, let's talk about, obviously there's the physical pains, right? So that's something on that end of it. So something that we can kind of touch on. What about the mental, it has to come up, is this worth it? Is this, or whatever questions, is there something that you do, or how do you go back to that little kid and say, it's this, or how do you reset your mind when those breakdowns happen?
That's a really good point as well. Earlier in my life, I realized there's certain things that you can control. Some things are out of your control in life. That we've all been through it. There's certain things that you can control. You can control your food, your alcohol, drugs, your physical environment. You can control anything that happens verbally, emotional violence. You can control the naysayers, gossipers, the wasted time, toxic people. So earlier in my life, I realized I needed to see people for who they were, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that, are you good for me? And that includes family too. I mean, just because you're born into a circle of family, or you have friends that you grew up with, they're not always they don't always have your best interest at heart. So you need to have your inner circle and move them maybe out to your outer circle, and sometimes not even part of your circle, just as an acquaintance. Because a lot of naysay, a lot of negativity comes from the outside. It always comes from the outside, or those who are jealous or envious of what you're doing. And again, this is for real estate as well. When you're making deal after deal and you're doing great, those who would love to do that but don't have the know-how to do that are going to put that toxicity towards you. So I cut those things out early on. So when I don't have outside influence getting into my mind, now it's just a mental game. And once it's a mental game, it's really about refocus on my goal, whether it's a short-term, mid-range, or long-term goal. Refocus on that. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it, because it was worth it from the very beginning, and I'm going to be driven towards that. So yes, looking back at that young kid, but really setting yourself up for success means getting rid of all the negativity, getting rid of the negative people, getting rid of anything that can distract you from what you're doing. Put that away and focus on the situations, the people, the opportunities, and the path that you have in front of you. So when you do that, it makes it so much easier to understand that failure is a part of what we're going to do. You know, you're going to lose. I've lost more competitions than I've won. You're probably going to lose more deals than you're going to win. Yeah, there's going to someone's going to outbid you. You're going to lose in life more than you win. But it's really about all that negative stuff's gone. We understand that loss is going to propel us to go forward and make us stronger and make us better. So the way I look at that is bring it on. If I'm going to lose, bring it on now so I can deal with that. I can master that, and I can move on to the best version of myself.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that too. The other big thing for me is that I'm tired of being on the sidelines, right? Like I'm watching, like get me in the game, right? Like I want to get in there, and I'm going to fall more times than not. That's okay. The second end of it is as some of you guys know my story when I lost everything and all that other good stuff. Like a lot of real estate investors in 2008 and 10. I always use this motto is that for whenever there's a breakdown in your life, it's like most people are like, oh my God, I'm having a breakdown. The great thing is there's a breakthrough coming right after it.
Absolutely.
So you want to minimize the breakdown, right? But if you know, hey, I have to go through this and something good's happening on the other end, it's going to make a big difference. And that's one of the things that, and again, these are and it could be also, I also like that it could be the little wins. Right. You don't go out there and win a championship. Maybe it's, you were hurt and now you're at least back on the dance floor. Right. On that portion. So I think that's always important too.
Absolutely. And I was just going to mention, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a Christian man by nature. And I'm a big believer that sometimes God's going to want you to go through the wilderness. You need to go through things that are challenging for a reason. It's this none, you don't, like I was telling my wife the other day, we were just talking, you don't fall forward. You just don't fall into success. No. You don't fall into being wealthy. You don't fall into being a champion. You just don't trip and fall into it. It's a process that you got to go through, and going through the wilderness, going through the tough times, going through the hurt, going through the pain, going through the oh my gosh, is this worth it? Oh my goodness. Going through those emotions, that is a requirement. And so embrace it, be thankful for it, master that.
Absolutely. Go ahead and put in the chat. Are you guys getting some good stuff today? Are you happy that we have Bradley on here today? Go ahead and put, yeah, buddy, just because I'm kind of curious. Because if you guys don't give me feedback on this, I'm not going to have superstars like Bradley with us, and I'm going to keep them all to myself. And
I appreciate you guys.
But yeah, look, a lot of people are really getting some good stuff out of this. And I said, like, the idea, like even the real estate stuff, right? I know a lot of you guys are real estate investors. You're on that path. The actual of doing, comparables, filling out contracts, not hard. It's this, right? You're the biggest person that's going to get in the way on that portion. I could teach you how to do comparables and fill out contracts and, quote unquote, say the right thing. Not really. important, right? It's about what you believe in yourself. So I'm going to kind of even change this. Like, so again, so Bradley's been a 5-time champion. So what do you do like as you're going there, right? Obviously he's had failures, right? Lost, I don't know how many competitions until you were named a champion, right? So whatever amount that is. How do you keep that momentum when you know everyone's biting at your toes and nipping you at the heels, or I forgot what the saying is on that end? Like, how do you, like, you get to the top, right? You got up here. Like, do you just take a breath and eat Cheetos all day? And I know you don't watch any TV, but like what do you do to keep that level?
That's an excellent question as well. I remember when I first won a major championship, and I was just on cloud 9. I was like, I finally did something worthy of my profession. And I remember the next day, I was back in the ballroom watching my video. I watched my video. Why? It's not because I like watching myself. Trust me. I don't like watching. I don't even like hearing myself. So when I do hear this rebroadcast, I'm going to cringe just hear my own voice, because I don't enjoy listening to myself. But you have to watch yourself. Why? So you could see your mistakes. You could see how you can improve. And that's the mark of a champion. It's not just doing the same things over and over and over. When you have success, it's how can you improve your process? How can you improve your delivery? How can you, certain things that you may not see, like, hey, how is my foot turned out here? Or am I moving through my back? Or is my posture not the best it could be? So many tiny things that I've moved in. So when I started going in from professional dancing as an insurance broker, how can I make that process better? When I started going into real estate investing, how can I make that process better? How can I learn how to communicate to other people better? How can I learn to be a better husband, a better father, a better servant, a better every single thing? The process of becoming a champion is not just in sports. It's not just in business. It's in life. Everything you do, how can I become better to inspire my wife to be the best person she can possibly be, because she inspires me to be the best man I can possibly be. My children inspired me to be better. It's putting yourself in a position where you look at yourself and say, how can I make what I just did stronger and better? And so I did that in the professional world of dancing, but also my mind thought like this. I know who I am. I no longer have anything to prove to anybody. If I ever win a competition again, or if I keep winning and winning, it doesn't matter. I've reached a point of self-mastery in my profession. I know my worth. I know how good I am. I love doing what I do, and I love doing it for you. It's a performance. It's something that I give. So when I'm on the floor, I feel like I'm giving something to my audience. I'm giving something to my clients. In insurance, I'm giving a service that I personally believe I'm the best in the world at what I do. When I'm doing a real estate deal and I'm helping somebody, get out of a situation, and we're taking a property, I'm doing something, a service. One of my mentors calls it a real good deal and a real good deed. It's the same thing. It's you always, if your process is about giving and your process is about serving, I don't care what you do, you're always going to be very, very successful. But it starts here. Know your value, know your worth, know that those listening right now, you are a champion. You may not be a ballroom champion, but you can be a champion as a husband, champion as a business person, a champion as a wife, father, mother, whatever it is you do, be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's cool because someone's talking about how confident you are. And that's the difference, right? Just believing in yourself. I know it sounds very basic. It's different when you're in action. I just, on a side note, do you dance on the way to the bank when you cash your check? I'm just messing with you. I can help but mess with you on that end of it too. So it's just one of those things, as whether, again, as an investor, and you have all these people always battling on that portion. What do you, since obviously you do coaching on the dance level and the studios, like, what do you tell people that, that are new, right? Like, or they're not good enough, I'll give you one of my issues, right? Is that after losing everything in 2010, and I'm really working on this, so that, I know I need to change that language on that end of it already, as I'm saying it, is that I'm just not patient. Meaning, I just feel like everything's not moving fast enough. How do you, like, I don't know if you deal with that, whether on any of your businesses, or even as you were going through your professional dance career, like the impatience level, or is that something that your students don't feel? Like, I could tell you, for me personally, that drives me nuts.
Absolutely. Everybody's different. Every single, you can't put a label on anybody. So I get it. Everybody has a different tolerance for everything, or expectations. My expectation was this. I knew getting into the circuit of professional dancing, I knew I was going to get beat up on that floor for years and years and years. And I remember I was competing against, it must have been 50 couples. There's 100 people on the floor, and there was about 50 people. And my partner and I were there, and we were on the lower end of talent at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my coaches was competing for his final year, and he was undefeated, never lost, not only a competition, never lost one dance, he's legendary. And I remember we were in Miami, Florida. We were in this lineup, and everybody's we're going on the floor. We're all going on. And everybody left like this bubble around him, this bubble, like he's untouchable. He was the Michael Jordan of dancing. Nobody wanted to touch this guy. And I stood right next to him. I stood right next to him. My partner and I, she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm only going to get one chance at this. If I'm pardon my French, if I'm going to get my ass kicked, I'm going to get my ass kicked by my mentor, and that's going to be an honor to do so." So I wanted to stand next to him, compete next to him, get thrashed next to him, because I wanted him to know that I stood against the best of the best with confidence, because I know that man that had that confidence, that knew he was going to lose, would take that to the next level. And so if I could stand next to him, I'm not worried about standing next to anybody. So sometimes going through that wilderness, going into a competition knowing you're going to lose, going into an auction knowing you're going to lose this bid, going into a deal where you have like 4 or 5 other investment teams, making bids on a deal, you're going to lose. It doesn't matter. Go do it anyways. Go do it anyways, because that experience that you're going to have, that experience of going through the process, is going to make you better, because you can learn from that. You could actually get stronger and stronger, so that next time you stand next to somebody else, you're going to look at them and go, "I just stood next to the best. I competed against the best. I'm not scared of you. I'm not worried about you." That's where that confidence comes from, is knowing that you could go eye to eye, toe to toe, even if you get knocked down, even if you get knocked out. It doesn't matter. You do it because someday you will be on top of the mountain. Someday you will be the superior. Someday, and that day will happen. Just keep going. That day will happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, because actually I just got one of the questions was, about competition. So that's what they're asking. It's funny you just touched on that. Is the competition, especially, most of these guys are real estate investors, or timing, right? Like I'll hit the other end of it about timing. A lot of you guys, right, are real estate investors, and you have other lives, and you still need to eat. And I get some of you guys have jobs, right? Because you still have to pay the bills until you get to the other side. What do you do about like time and efficiency? Like or I always get the other question I get is, I'll just use the real estate in it. Is the timing right for me to do this? Is there a good time in general? Like, how do you differentiate? Because I know you're in a lot of different projects. How do you figure out on timing?
Well, and you've probably heard this from one of our mentors, and I love the way he puts this. If not me, who? If not now, when? When are you going to do it? Do you know what tomorrow's going to bring? I don't. Do you know what opportunities are going to be tomorrow? I don't. Do you know if this is going to be the moment? This is going to be that opportunity that's going to make and break your portfolio? Do you know that? I don't. So I would say, when is the best time? Now is the best time. If you're going to
Yeah.
do it, now is the best time. You could always find time. You could always find time to work with a mentor. You could always find, and now investing doesn't mean going in there and doing the rehab. Investing doesn't mean going there and doing everything. It means being part of the process. Maybe you're doing the research. Maybe you're just upfronting the money. There's a lot of different aspects of doing what we do. And so you find what works with you and find how much time do you have available? Put that aside and say, this is how much I have available. Here's my skill set, or here's how much I have to invest, or this is what I can do. Like I said earlier, you have to have small goals, medium goals, and long-term goals, and just be realistic about that. I know right now Bradley is not going to have, he's not going to have $1 billion to make a skyscraper. I don't have it. I don't have the time. Now, do I have the desire to do that? But you need to be realistic about what it is you want, make that goal, and make a clear vision and path to get there. And always look back. Can I invest this time to do that? Yes, I can. If you can't, shorten that goal up until you can maybe make that goal a midterm goal, but always do something to move towards your end game. So right now is the best time.
I liked what you did, like you were talking about on the dance end of it, where you blocked off times. So I do that. So before I block off specific times on my real estate business. One of the things that even like last year, the couple of years, like I'm not afraid of hard work and I'm very committed. And my wife kind of, some of you guys know on this call know my wife Eliana. She goes, "Hey, do you still want to be married?" And I was like, this is probably a trick question. Yes, no, I'm not sure, right? And what she was saying was, when are you going to have time for me?
Sure.
And so this past year, I made sure I built that time in. And the irony is I've actually made more money. I've just become more efficient. And now I'm starting to see where I'm inefficient on so many things that I'm just fixing things little by little to become more efficient. And I like that you're saying now. So I always hear people like, "Hey, someday I want to be a real estate investor." I said, "Hey, can you open up your calendar? What day is someday? It's not between Monday and Tuesday. When's that going to happen?" Because, there's a lot of things that we agree on, what you're saying, not being on the sidelines. This is the time, right? You're not going to be able to, in our world with the real estate in it, there's no way to time it. I always tell people, even if the market's good, bad, I hate to say it, people still die, people still get a divorce, they still have, medical problems, IRS problems. They need to do something. It's going to take real estate investors like us to do this, to make a difference and really change communities. We help out a lot of people that are in foreclosure. They need people like us to make a difference on that portion. So Harry's on this call. So one of the things that Victoria and Harry always say that, we're in the business of fixing problems. And therapists, I think he added that in sometimes too. So, but that's part of it, right? If you're always chasing after money, it's not going to be, you're going to always be chasing. Keep doing the right things. I know some of these things sound very basic. The question is, are you really using that, right? We might know, hey, you shouldn't do these things, but then are you doing that on that portion? And then you're not seeing the results. And I like the small wins versus, get the couple small ones and keep building on them. And the losses are okay too, right? And you heard this guy, Bradley's a 5-time world champion. He's lost a bunch of competitions. I thought
more than I've won.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. And no one ever, and the funny part is, what are we talking about? The 5 wins, right? I always talk about the homeowners. I talk to people, ask me, how many people said no to you? And I always joke, but I was like, I have no idea. I go, Bradley, you'll appreciate that. Well, you might not appreciate, but I said, it reminds me when I was single. I asked out a lot of girls, I got a bunch of no's, but I do remember the yes. That's the one that counts, right? So in our world, if you do one deal, right? So our numbers down here are pretty crazy on the wholesaling and rehabbing numbers, or, we're getting $30,000, $40,000 now on these wholesale deals. So I always tell people the same thing. That next knock or call, is it worth $40,000 to go out there and try it?
Correct.
Right? How hard are you working at your job to do that? So it's one of those things out there that, and the other thing is, I know you obviously have the mental toughness, and I'm going to kind of touch back on the people that are supportive and not supportive, right? And it's true. Sometimes it's the closest people in your life that are not supportive. When I
Absolutely.
lost everything and lost millions of dollars, and my parents said, "Hey, you tried it your way. Go back to corporate America." Right. And I said, as a good Indian son, I didn't listen to him. I spent my last bit of money on mentoring, slept on my cousin's couch, and luckily, fast forward, everything's turned out pretty well. And my dad goes, I remember, he goes, we always knew you could do it. And I was like, I should have really recorded that conversation. I love my parents on that, and my family. But I was like, I don't think you remember what it was like. And you were saying, I'm not sure. But they were always supportive of us. So, I kind of joke about that end of it, but they don't know. And the funny part, my parents are not entrepreneurs. So they've always worked a job, get a good education, had a job, that end of it. And that's what you're supposed to do. So sometimes they just don't know on that portion. So
Correct.
On that. And so we're almost, if you can believe it, like we're almost out of time, which is pretty
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, like the time always goes by super quick with you too.
Mhm.
I mean, what are your well, let's talk about on your insurance. Like I'm gonna let you plug the insurance stuff that since you do it in 50 states, you want to talk about what do you want your insurance written by a champion?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for giving me that
Yeah.
plug. And I never ever in my wildest dreams thought I would be doing a webinar for RIA, being a professional dancer. So thank you for that opportunity. But yes, I work with Goosehead Insurance. We own a brokerage. We are based out of Washington State, but we do all 50 states. PNC. We do all lines of PNC, life insurance, commercial insurance, high valued homes over $1.5 million. I just did a couple apartment complexes. And so we can do anything except for health insurance. So if you are looking for an insurance professional, we shop with over 80 of the top carriers in each state. And we have so many options for you. And I would say we routinely find the best rates in the states for you. So if you can always look up my website, bradleymontoya.com. So you'll see my insurance information, but just always see the products and things that we do for dancing. I'm also actually developing a website right now it's absolutely free. It's online dance lessons. Since we're so blessed to be able to do that, we're actually filming different dances. We have thousands and thousands of videos that we're currently putting up right now. Go to bradleymontoya.com and you'll see those things. And you can always email me and I'll actually send you a link to everything as it becomes up.
Yep, absolutely. Do you want to, Alexa, just put your info on your website in?
Sure.
Do you want to give us your email address, or is it on your website?
It is on mine, but it's
Okay.
but it's super easy. And when I first got this, I kind of cringed because my wife did this for me. It's just MrBradleyMontoya.com. Now I love it. At first I was like, that's kind of strange, but it's just MR and then BradleyMontoya@gmail.com. But it is definitely right on my website. Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So by the way, if you guys start taking dance lessons, make sure you upload a video to our Facebook group. All the people that were not on this webinar are going to be like, what the heck? Anish's lost his mind. What the heck is he doing over there? So we've been really committed this year. One of the things on the break was, we're 100% real estate. We're an investor club, and that's my passion about it.
Mhm.
But we also want to work on mindset, mental health, even physical health, meaning we want to make a big difference, right? You can't be a one-trick pony of like, hey, I just want to make money, and all these other things are falling in your life.
Correct.
On that portion. So we want to teach balance. The reason we want to teach balance because I'm trying to learn balance. So I'm my own student, if that makes sense, and that's part of what the coaching about that is. So go ahead and put in chat. Are you guys, go ahead, give me a yeah, Bradley, if you guys got anything today between my little chat with Bradley, and show him some love, and now you understand why I asked him to be like, hey, you want to do something that's totally out of the box, out of RIA to do this. Yeah, see, there's like Mr. B.
I appreciate it, guys. And it's all about self-mastery. It really is. Everything's about self-mastery. And I really appreciate the opportunity to get here, speak with y'all, spend my morning, and I hope that you guys have a blessed rest of your week as well.
Yeah. So how much does it cost to fly you out private for a one? I mean, I need a lot of work.
Well, you know what? I would love to work with you and your wife, and just come on out and just spending good old time. And everything's about everybody's different, so depends on how good you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't want to be that embarrassing. I'm okay with being embarrassing, just not that embarrassing.
I think you're going to be just fine.
So again, if there's any, let me just see if there's any final questions that you guys have, because I did get a couple questions that I already asked Bradley too on that portion. But and you know what? Let's talk about before we go, because I did meet your beautiful wife. And so one of the cool things that, you were talking about having a business. So I know you guys own a cafe in, Northern California, Oakland, if I'm correct.
Right.
And you guys live in Washington State. What kind of challenges? I know it's more, maybe I should have her on too, because I'm like, what kind of challenges is it having, kids, doing all the things that you do, and then owning a business out of state?
Well, I tell you what,
with her, so.
Lauren is one of the best business people I've ever known in my life. I mean, I know she's listening to me. She's listening to this
good
webinar.
Move, good move,
but,
good move.
But she is actually one of my best teachers I've ever had in my life. And not that she sits me down and A, B, C, D, E, F, G. She is an amazing business person. It's just, she has an innate business acumen that it's just awesome to watch what she does. And so to run a business where you're not physically there is near impossible. It's very difficult to do. And she just has a great relationship with the managers. She's constantly training them. And talk about self-mastery and business mastery. I think she's my wife. So she's my real estate partner as well. And she's just a great business person. I would say schedule Lauren to have her talk about that. And I think that a lot of people who are investors would love to listen to what she has to say. I think she could do seminars on this just for hours on end. And that would be an amazing conversation with her.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like we were kind of talking about it actually at our event, was that there's no one that we like, it was the same question, right? How many of you guys, gonna put in the chat, how many of you guys would be interested to actually, if I have someone on, like, and this is Lauren, obviously Bradley's wife, if I have her on and talk about how to build businesses and not be present or in the same state, and work it from afar and still be breathing and not be bitter. Like she's such a happy person too. Okay, look at that, a bunch of yeses. Because like we're like, as the RIA, we were talking about it. I don't know any person or any kind of program in the country that does that. I've never run into anyone. I know she's going to talk about creating. Maybe what I'll do with her is, and obviously we're giving her a job, and you'll have to run. You might have to go into the other room. I don't know what we're doing for her. It's just like, what are you doing? No, but what I'll do is have her on, and then maybe I'll do a Saturday workshop with her if she wants. And
she would. I don't want to speak for her, but she honestly, if I had something like this, she would be one of my first guests. She's an amazing person. And a hell of a lot better looking than I am. So you guys will have a nice guest.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So look, there's a bunch of people that are saying absolutely they'd be interested on that portion. Go ahead and put in a chat. Yeah, buddy, if you guys are liking this new little format, again, this is just an add-on. You can see we still have a lot of real estate stuff going on. Do you like this little format as an add-on? Put in the chat, yeah, buddy. If not, okay, cool. Yeah, so all right. Yeah, I appreciate it too. So any final last words from the champion that we know that you are, right? And that we all think that we should be, and sometimes we're not living like a champion. What would be the final words you would have to say to our guests, if you could leave them with something?
Oh, wow.
And by the way, I just want to let everyone know, here's the funny part. Like we had lunch and dinner, in California. So Bradley, and like a lot of guests in general, we talk about bullet points of what may or may not be asked. Bradley has zero idea what I'm going to ask.
Correct.
at all. And I don't even know what I'm going to ask, to be honest, because I'm just interested. And we wanted to, our format is really, we just want to be transparent, right? It's like, Bradley and I just having a cup of coffee and you're listening in. And as I get to travel and meet such amazing people, I'm always like, whoa, that would be a pretty cool guest on what had happened. So I really appreciate you guys being on board. So any last thing that you want to leave our group?
Absolutely. It's the one thing I tell to my students, and as I've matured over the years, I've just simple words. I love you guys. That's why I do what I do. I tell my students the reason I teach, the reason I mentor, the reason I do what I do, because I love you guys. And so
Wow.
Same thing here is if you're doing business and your heart is in the right place and you're doing things because you love people, you're going to have an amazing life, just like I have. And I've had a blessed, very, very blessed life. So I would just say, do it from a place of love, do it from a place of admiration, and do it to your fellow man. Life's going to be great.
Awesome. Wow. I mean, I can't even follow up on that. Can I just say ditto? No, that's, but
Ditto.
again,
Ditto works.
ditto works, right? No, and I agree with Bradley. I mean, it's just a different level. Obviously, I know some people are like, wait, the professional ballroom dancer is on Aria. Like everyone's like, it doesn't make any sense. But it does, right? Again, we're talking about the mindset, right? The object or what he's in, we're talking about the dance end of it. It could be real estate, it could be relationships.
Mhm.
It's here, right?
It's
And you
right
got to
there.
work on that, right? And what I'll leave you with is that everyone's busy. Stop using that as an excuse.
Correct.
And because sometimes, and I'll catch myself, is I'm busy just to be busy so I don't have to work on myself. And that's the challenge, right? And then when you work on yourself and you see the breakthrough, you're like, crap, why didn't I do that before?
Mhm.
On that portion. So just be honest with yourself. And if you need someone honest in your life, you could text me. I'll tell you. No, I'm kidding. I'll tell you that no, on that end of it, I'm messing with you. But yes and no, our students, we are a little bit tough on you sometimes. And it's just because we want the best for you on
Yep.
that portion. So I again, Bradley, thank you, brother, so much for hopping on early, taking the time to actually talk to our audience. I'm looking forward to seeing you and Lauren soon, maybe in the next month or two. I will check with Lauren to see if she's up for it and put her on the hot seat, or she'll put me on the hot seat, I guess, probably knowing her, and she'll say, hey, look, I got a better way to do this than anyone else, and we'll take it from there. So Alexa,
I'd love to hear your conversation. That'd be great. Hey, Anish, again, thank you for inviting me. I love you, my friend. And
you too,
thanks
man.
guys for having me on.
Yep, Alexa, any final
so much,
last?
Bradley. Yes, that
You got
was,
it, my dear.
I feel great right now. I'm ready to kill this week. So just thank you guys so much for being here. This replay will be available on our YouTube channel in 48 hours. So look out for that, subscribe. If you love this webinar, please write us a Google review, give us 5 stars, tell us your thoughts on this webinar. We appreciate it so much. So everyone look out for the thank you email that I will send you all right after the webinar. So it's coming from me, Alexa at bpmaria.com. Please guys, give us a Google review, like on YouTube, share it with a friend. Like, this was very powerful. I feel great right now. So I'm sure everybody else is.
Well, I'm gonna give our attendees some Indian guilt. Bradley said he loves you. So if you don't put comments in our and you don't love him back, you're gonna make me look bad. Bradley's gonna be
I
mad
love the
at
guilt,
me.
man. That's great.
Yeah, the Indian guilt, right? So you got to push again, like the 5-star reviews and the comments really help us out because it gets other guests and again, you could also email Alexa or myself if you have any other ideas. And some of you guys are members. Actually, I never really thought about it, but I'll throw this out there is that every quarter I'm going to have a member spotlight. So if you feel like you have someone in our group that's a member and you think their story is, inspiring and it would be great for our group, let us know. I'll see if we could do a member spotlight on them too. So that'll be something different too. So we're always on the fly here, Bradley. We're always, the cool thing is, Alexa has to keep me in line because did you know you said this? Did you say that? I was like, oh crap. So then I'm out, then I have to do it. So, which is fine. But thank you guys again so much. And we'll see you. Our next webinar is, Alexa, is it next week?
Going to be Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. So, eat those box of chocolates, right? Get those flowers, and then watch our webinar. So thanks, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Appreciate it. Thanks, Bradley.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Bradley.
You got
Have
it.
a great day.